more willing you are to be bad, the more likely you are to be good. If you're willing to write something that sucks, you're more likely to write something that's very good, because it means you're not restricting yourself, you're not holding back, you're just allowing yourself the opportunity to fail and make mistakes, because that's how you learn.
I'm Junaid Ahmed, host of Hacks and Hobbies podcast and a digital presence advisor at HumbleZone. This episode is brought to you by Home Studio Mastery. I launched a consultation and course program to help podcasters and course creators to create a space in their homes that'll reduce the friction of creating content and appearing their best when showing up on camera. The pandemic gave us a lot of issues, but this one is here to stay. We're now so much closer to our audience thanks to video becoming more popular and affordable. I help guide folks who want to create Hollywood-worthy studios to not only capture great content, but also build more confidence, more authority, and be more comfortable in front of the camera. If I can do it, you can too. And with my help, you can do it faster. So if you'd like to learn more, visit homestudiomastery.com and how you too can create a home studio that brings out your personality, professionalism, and possibilities. Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. We're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life, who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around.
Welcome back to another exciting episode, and today we have a special guest joining us. He's an incredibly talented comedian who has been making waves in the industry. Get ready to laugh your heart out as we dive into the world of stand-up comedy with the one and only Ian. Stay tuned for a hilarious and insightful conversation that will leave you in stitches. Let's get started.
Ian, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, man, happy to be here. It was a fun night.
It was totally fun. I was laughing at every single joke because coming from marketing and coming from understanding how you land those jokes and deliver them, I think is really masterfully done. And you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, I did my first set when I was 24, so 8 years ago, but then I did 7 sets that year. Basically took 4 years off when I moved to Austin, decided to take it seriously, moved to LA. And then about a year and a half into being there, COVID hit. LA lost all the ideas of freedom, so I moved to LA, and then did my first actual tour this last year. So yeah, I've been doing it for a while, but I've just been real serious about it the last couple of years.
Now, a lot of people ask this question: how did you get into telling jokes? And it's probably something that you've been wanting to do for a long time. I told my wife I want to do stand-up comedy, and she's no, you're not going to last for a while because your corny dad jokes aren't going to land on people. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, I actually hadn't wanted to do it, I don't think. So I was 24 at the time, and I had been doing this thing where I was writing every day. So I actually had a calendar just like this one, and I was doing this Seinfeld story I had heard about don't break the chain. So you write a joke every day.
Yeah.
And you put an X on the calendar if you've written one. And so I started out doing it for emails because I was writing email copy at the time, and I still do. And then after 10 days writing, it was like, I want to do this for something else. I want to do it for jokes, even though I wasn't a comedian, didn't have any plans on being one. And so after it had been, I did 90 days in a row, which was my goal. And I didn't break the chain. I didn't miss once. And it was around that time that I went skydiving with these Navy SEALs, and thought it was going to just be like, oh, this is all the adrenaline, all the fun. And I went and I felt nothing. Like I just had no adrenaline response. As we were putting on the thing, like, all right, I'm going to get scared now. And I didn't. And then we walked to the plane and didn't get scared. We get up. Okay, once we level out and I know we're going to jump, I'll get scared. And I didn't. And then we level out, and then they start scooting us towards the door, and I felt nothing. And then we jump out, nothing. I'm like, all right, my adrenaline's broken. I got to figure this shit out. So I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to sign up to do stand-up. And I thought at the time you could just go anywhere and do stand-up anyway. I understand how it works. And you go and you get 3 minutes, maybe 5, if you bring some friends. So when I signed up for the first set, I was terrified. Like I was just freaked out for the whole week. Just, I don't really worry about stuff in general, but I got that adrenaline I wanted. And then when I went, it went really well. which is, not super common for your first set. And I was just like, I
Mhm.
want to do this with my life. And then I proceeded to delay my dreams for an extended period of time. But I knew after the first set, I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Wow. I really like how you checked your gut to see if you're doing the right things, right? You got on the plane like, okay, this is going to give me the rush, right? And then but it didn't. And
It did.
a lot. What I love about that is that you actually took that pulse. A lot of people in life don't. They'll just do the same thing every day, single day, not even thinking about what lights them up and just keep going. And I think COVID did a lot of that turning on switches. Okay, is this really what you want to do for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I think for some people it was a good thing, and they woke up a little bit, and then some people just use this as an opportunity to be even lazier than they already were.
I never thought of it from that perspective. They got even more lazier because they're like, hey, I don't have to do this.
They get some money from the government and they decide they can just do nothing at all, and most people would rather do nothing than something, and that's what they do.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that there's so many opportunities to do nothing, right? You got so many ways to do nothing, just sit at home, watch TV. And there's so many shows to catch up on. Like, I can't do anything. I've got to catch up on this new show that just came out, and I don't know if it's going to get canceled.
Yeah, or if you start a show, for me, I'll start a show and then I'm like, I got to finish it before I can start doing stuff again. I'm like, I got to finish this whole fucking thing as soon as possible.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's much easier to do nothing than it is to do something, especially now when we're all just numb with our phones and social media and stuff. So I think it's more important now than ever.
Absolutely. And so as you took the pulse, you're like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I don't know if you got to read the book by Kevin Hart. You can't make this shit up. And because he wasn't a stand-up comedian to start with, right? He started as somebody he grew up in a very controlled environment. Her mom didn't want him to do anything else because of what happened with her older brother. But it was a really cool story. Like, he narrates it himself. So I think that'd be a pretty fun read because it goes to show, oh my God, this stuff is hard and you got to really put your heart into it.
Oh, it's really weird. Stand-up is this odd thing that everybody knows about, but nobody really understands. So like, people just think you just go up and do stand-up. They don't realize the amount of the writing or the practice, the work. And it's a place where you have to, in order to practice, you have to be willing to potentially publicly fail, because you can't practice at home on your own. I'll tell jokes and stories to my friends and stuff, and it's almost like mini practice, but it's, you got to get on stage and you got to do the work. It's, even though the amount of time is very small, that even if you're the most famous comedian in the world, you're working an hour or two a night, but there's so much that goes into the entire process, and it's an obsession. It's not, to me, it doesn't feel like work. It's the work you want to do. It's the best way I can describe it is it's like a virus that takes over one cell in your body, and then it just starts to slowly take over everything, and then you can't turn it off. Like last night, as I was falling asleep, I had an idea for a bit, and I'm just like, I gotta write this down, otherwise I'm gonna forget it. And so I'll just I'll be in the middle of conversations, have an idea, and I'm just like, hold on, I just have this note. I have 1,000 notes in my iPhone that all just little bits and ideas, and you can't, if you're not that obsessed with it, it's never gonna work. Like, you can't, it's not a thing you can do
as a hobby, as you can't do it as a hobby. You really have to go in all the way.
Yeah, there are people who do it as a hobby. That's what most people do. Most people don't get paid to do stand-up. It's, there's maybe 10 to 20 truly famous comics in the world, which means you've got a less likelihood of succeeding than being like an astronaut. But you've got working comics and stuff. But for most people, well, it's a hobby, and they like going to the comedy club and doing an open mic and hanging out with their friends. But honestly, those people are all, for the most part, at least in the towns I've been, they're just weird, losery people who are just floundering and struggling in their life. And they're just, I don't know, they don't put in the work. They walk up with a piece of paper in their hand, and they haven't actually worked on any of this stuff. They're just up there fucking around. And then the most of the laughs they get are them making fun of themselves for messing up, for not telling a funny joke. And it's They're not. They're not
It's more like a pastime for them than an actual something that they want to grow into.
They don't even really care how they do. It's so weird. It's, don't you want to fucking kill? Don't you want to be the best?
Yeah.
They don't. They're just, but they're, a lot of those people, they're not doing well in life either. It's like an escape as opposed to, they're trying to succeed at one of the hardest things to succeed at, and they've never succeeded at anything. Sounds harsh, but it's true.
Wow. So listen up, guys. You need to really pay attention on what you're actually doing, because nothing is easy, and you can passably do one thing or another, but to really succeed, you're gonna have to do better than the last time that you did, at least that much.
Yeah, it's like anything. For some people, it's easier than others. Like, I've done a lot of speaking on stage. I think that's helped, but there's no shortcut to doing the work. Being on stage, you have to do it. There are lots of comics who, the more famous ones, who then become an actor and they stop doing stand-up, and then they do the same set for 20 years if they do it, and it's not gonna, you're not gonna get better.
That's really fascinating. So as you went from being, and you also mentioned that you still do write emails. So tell us a little bit about that, and what inspired you to say, hey, I want to write emails for people.
Yeah, so I think the first money I made online when I was like 22 or so, and I was trying to make money online, and I'd written a book about dating and stuff, but I was like, all right, I'm trying to do everything. Everybody was trying to do everything online, and I just decided to get really good at copywriting. And I did that, and then I got my first job writing copies. And then actually my company, Almost Passive Income, just bought Copy Hour a few months, 2 months ago. So we just bought a company. It was the first time I've sold a company, but it's the first time I've bought a company.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that product changed my life. So we bought the company. And so I just started writing copy, but primarily emails for one company. And then I went to another company, and then I started doing it as a freelancer. And then I've had my business teaching marketing and stuff, how to make money online, for 8 years, I think. But it was always my side business. And then it's been my main business for the last 2 years or so, just teaching people how to write emails for other companies, teaching people how to make more money from their list, teaching people how to work through money blocks and that. So yeah, I still have my main business is Almost Passive Income, and teaching people how to make more money in less time while having more fun.
Yeah. That's really powerful, because copy is something that not anybody can pick up and start writing. It, like everything in life, you have to practice to get that good copy, to get that good writing out. A lot of people
practice to write like long form sales letters and stuff. Takes more practice. Writing emails is a lot easier, but it still takes work. You got to commit yourself to it.
Yeah, I think what's really beautiful is it's just a matter of time, right? We can do so much with the time that we were given every single day. And if you really put your time and energy into that one thing for 1 hour or for 2 hours or for 30 minutes, you're going to start seeing exponential results over the year that you spend that time into. It took you 90 days to continually write every single day, jokes and whatnot, and they gave you the courage of, okay, let me go try this stand-up thing.
Yeah, and it was really the biggest thing I learned in that 90 days was that it wasn't about the quality of what I wrote. It was just, did I do the work? It was that pro mindset of, I wrote some horrible jokes over that time. But there were times, I remember one night where I woke up at 11:30 on my couch, and I was like, shit, I haven't written yet today. It's almost midnight. I got to do it. And I just wrote a horrible joke.
Yeah.
And it was that moment where I'm like, oh, this willingness, it's the same with so many things. And the more willing you are to be bad, the more likely you are to be good.
Yeah.
If you're willing to write something that sucks, you're more likely to write something that's very good, because it means you're not restricting yourself. You're not holding back. You're just allowing yourself the opportunity to fail and make mistakes, because that's how you learn.
That's so true. One thing that Seth Godin always talks about is people would come up to him and tell him, hey, I want to write a New York bestseller book. And he'd ask him, okay, so what is your bad writing? Yeah. You got to have bad writing. You got to get all that junk out of your system to get to the good writing. And that's something that's always stuck to me. And It's something that I struggle with every once in a while. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to write a blog every single day. And a week later, it's not sticking. But I know that I've put myself into a lot of different things to do. And not only that, but I think it's a commitment to really commit to myself and say, okay, from this minute to this minute, or from this hour to this hour, I'm just going to work on this one thing.
Yeah. It's that commitment. It's the calendar thing of not wanting to break the chain. You just get that momentum. It's like getting yourself into the habit of something where it's easier to do it than not to do it. Where for me, I like working out. I like going to the gym. I like lifting weights. If I don't do it, I feel worse than if I don't have to motivate myself to go. I would want to. It'd be weirder to not. And that's where you know that you've really got a habit where it's like, I do that with writing. I fall out of it at times and it's so much more work. But when I'm in the flow and I'm writing a lot, it's easier to write. It's just having the habits and the structure to stick with it. What's so fun? So
I love it. Nice. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, you share 3 hacks with the community on the power of joke telling, whatever it is that you learn in business. I think copywriting is your strong suit, or that you've built onto, but I think any hack that people can start doing, build it into their business, build it into their day, right? It's going to be very effective. So quick break, be right back.
Awesome.
I'm Junaid Ahmed, host of Hacks and Hobbies podcast and a digital presence advisor at HumbleZone. This episode is brought to you by Home Studio Mastery. I launched a consultation and course program to help podcasters and course creators to create a space in their homes that will reduce the friction of creating content and appearing their best when showing up on camera. The pandemic gave us a lot of issues, but this one is here to stay. We're now so much closer to our audience thanks to video becoming more popular and affordable. I help guide folks who want to create Hollywood-worthy studios to not only capture great content, but also build more confidence, more authority, and be more comfortable in front of the camera. If I can do it, you can too. And with my help, you can do it faster. So if you'd like to learn more, visit homestudiomastery.com and how you too can create a home studio that brings out your personality, professionalism, and possibilities. Welcome back, guys. We've been listening and talking with Ian Stanley, amazing copywriter, amazing stand-up comedian. He's going to be going to shows, I think, next year. I don't know if you've got it planned out where you're going to be.
Don't have the next tour dates yet, but I'll have them probably early next year.
So when you do listen to this episode, we'll be sure to link up to the tour dates, because by the time this episode is out, he's going to be in tour. You guys can go check him out.
Hell yeah.
Ian, drop us with some baller hacks. 3 hacks.
So what? All right. So hacks. So on what are we looking for? I got all sorts of hacks. What do we want?
All right, we want to. You've been talking about a lot of stuff around writing, around building that habit, around getting that mindset. How does somebody even get started
with writing in particular?
Yeah, writing in particular.
I would say the best way to get started is to start. It's as cheesy as that is. When it comes to writing, you've got to. The hardest part of writing is not writing, it's sitting down to write. It's building the structure. Even for myself, I haven't been writing as much lately. And so I'm in the process right now of revamping my entire schedule, my daily schedule for how I want to work and live next year, because I've been a very good lifestyle guy for years. For most of my career, I've barely worked more than 2 hours a day. And then since my company has been growing this year and we basically decided to go from lifestyle business to like real company. And so like I manage our sales team. We have 2 meetings a week. I'm like allergic to meetings. Now that we've done traction, we have this, I'm okay with it. But I try to book as little time as possible on my calendar. And I've just realized lately that I just haven't had that same structure. And the unfortunate thing, and also a fortunate thing, is that it just takes the discipline to pick a time. And the best thing you can do is pick a sacred time, and that time is untouchable. And you just write for that time. So for most people, you should start with 10 minutes. Just write for 10 minutes. And what you do is you just type. So you just type. It doesn't matter how good it is. It doesn't even matter. You could type the word pancake over and over to pancake until you feel like writing something else. It's just forcing yourself to. There's no. If you've read any of Stephen Pressfield's book, like Turning Pro, War of Art, it's just there's resistance, and it fucking wants you to fail. And there are certain areas in life where I have it and certain where I don't when it comes to writing. And it seems to be just a curse of writing in a way. And it's just, it's not the writing itself. It's the sitting down. It's the building the practice. It's the discipline to choose this time, no matter what. That's what's always worked best for me. I pick a time, and that time, the phone's off, or the phone's in the other room. There's no contacting me. There's no distractions. There's just me and the page and the writing. And you always feel better. It's just like going to the gym. I've never heard anybody go to the gym and then leave and they go, I'm so upset with myself that I worked out today. It's remembering that you're always going to feel better after than you did before. You go to the gym, you leave, and you go, I feel fucking great. You don't hear people just go, I'm such a piece of shit. I shouldn't have lifted weights today. I wrote. You can write things and go, that wasn't very good, but you still did it. That's all that matters. And then sometimes you come back to that same thing you wrote that you thought was absolute horseshit.
Yeah.
And then the next day you're like, oh, that was good. And then sometimes you write something you think's great, and then you read it again, like, yeah, it's fine. So it's really just the practice. It's picking a time. It's treating it like it's unbreakable, like it's a bond with yourself. But for most people, just even writing for 10 minutes a day, just deciding you're going to do that is such a powerful thing in itself, because it's just building the habit and that muscle. It's a muscle just like everything else.
I love that. One of my wife's coach told her, if you want to start walking, you got to take the time out to put your shoes on. It's 2 minutes. The next day, okay, now you got the shoes on, you just build on top of the previous habit. And I love the example of just write pancake. If you can just write one word over and over, guess what? You're going to start coming out with some creative stuff, because now you got that flow, you got that faucet open.
And it's reducing friction to your habits. Like lately, for the most part, especially in the winter, I've just been, as it's gotten colder here, I have my garage set up, and if I'm not going to go to the gym, I'll just go in there, and every morning now I just go on the treadmill, and it's part of the routine, and it's way easy. I don't want to drive to go run on a treadmill. I won't. I'll drive down the hill to the gym to go run on a treadmill, but I'll do it if it's in my garage. And it's the same thing though. Like if you're trying to get the habit of going to the gym, don't set the goal of going and doing a 45-minute workout. Your goal is just to go to the gym. Walk in the front door. If you've walked in the front door and you are in that bad of a spot that you don't want to do it, leave. But at least you went. But you're not going to go to the gym and then turn around and go home. Walk for 5 minutes, do something. So it's just reducing friction and making things as easy as possible. Where it's actually, for me, I'll just take pre-workout. And once I've taken the pre-workout, it's inevitable that I'm going to lift. I'm not going to take that and then just sit around all amped up. Lift. So it's just like, it's a lot easier to take a scoop of pre-workout than it is to force yourself to go to the gym. And I don't use it all the time. It's actually, I noticed that when I was using it, I just never missed, because I took it. Now I go to the gym. This is the routine. But it's easier to take a scoop of pre-workout than it is to go to the gym. But if the first thing is the trigger that gets you to go, it makes life much easier.
Love it. So build a habit, reduce the friction, and just keep going it, because that's what's going to get you to take the action. I love it, man. Very simple, very actionable. Anybody can do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not new. I'm not saying anything super fancy, but it's it's the shit that works. The best thing to do if you want to change your habits is to change your identity. When I used to call myself a writer, I wrote more. When I started calling myself other things, I did it less. When you hear somebody say I'm a runner, what does that mean? It means they run. You do the thing. Everybody will meet their identity, and they will do everything in their power to keep the identity that they believe that they are. If somebody identifies as being overweight, and I don't mean identity in the 2022 sense of identify as a fucking can of salsa, the real identity of who I think I am. So if somebody's identity is I'm overweight, you'll see them lose weight and then they'll go back to being overweight because they identify as being an overweight person.
Oh man, that's so powerful.
People's behaviors will shift to match their identity. If my identity is I'm a fit person, which is an identity that I have, that means if I get any bit of overweight or like any heavier body fat or more body fat than I want, I immediately change my behaviors to match my identity of being a fit person, because it's outside of my comfort of being that identity. So if you're overweight and you can change your identity to being a fit person or a lean person or a skinny person, your behaviors will shift to match that identity. So if you identify as a rich person, you're going to have the habits of a rich person, and you're going to believe yourself to be rich, and you're going to do the things that rich people do. If you identify as a poor person, you'll see people who make a bunch of money and then they just keep losing. They make it and they lose it because their identity is not that of a rich person. It's that of a poor person. So they have to shift their behaviors to meet their identity.
Shift your behavior
to follow the identity.
Man, that is a really powerful one, because I remember when I called myself a cyclist, I rode 1,500 miles. And when I call myself a dad, I'm dadding right now. So
the identity creates the reality.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to do a bunch of fancy shit. If you just shift your identity, you just do the things that type of person does.
All right. Well, thank you, Ian. Those were really powerful. And I'm thinking in my mind, I've been calling myself the home studio architect, and architects, they create home studios. But if I call myself a home studio coach, maybe I'll coach more.
It's true. As silly as it may seem, it's true.
Yeah.
Like I said, as I became more of a business owner and entrepreneur who did other stuff, I stopped calling myself a writer, and I literally just started writing less. And it used to be that when people asked me what I did, I was like, I'm a writer. And they go, what do you write? Write shit, sell shit. And I wrote every day. Match. You also want to be consistent with what you tell people you are and what you tell yourself you are.
I love that. That's really powerful. All right. Now comes the point where I ask these rapid fire questions. I'm still trying to come up with a name for it, but it's 6 different questions that I ask my guests on to get an idea of who they are, where they come from. We already have an idea based on the story that you shared with us.
Yeah.
So let's jump right in. Rapid fire. All right, sweet. Number 1, what is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
Yeah, I saw that when you asked, and I do most of the things I want to do. If I want to do something, I just do it.
Just go and do it.
But I never had hobbies. I don't really understand hobbies, because to me, if I get into something, I'm like, I want to be the best. I just can't help it. It's like a disease. I understand my childhood and my parents and the way that I was raised and my athletic background and shit. But I have a hard time doing a thing. Like when I started playing spike ball, I was like, oh, it's a hobby. And then I'm like, all right, I'm playing to be the best. And when I, like with sports, I can't help myself. I want to be the best. I say that, but there is one thing. I'm playing Grand Theft Auto lately, and there's a lot of flying missions in it. And I think one thing I would like to do is get my pilot's license. And I think I could do it as an actual hobby, because I'm not going to enter any competitions on flying. Just did we land safely or not? That's something that I'd like to have done that I haven't done yet, that I'll probably do at some point in my life.
Nice.
Got a lot going on, so I don't think I'm going to fit it in just yet. But
not yet. Yeah, I love that, because that's something that I always wanted to be a pilot. And I've played video games of flying airplanes and jets and whatnot. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, fine. I'd like to do this. I'm calm under pressure, so I think it'd be fine. I think I could actually, it could be a hobby, because I'd want to be good at it. Obviously, if you're bad at it, you die. But it's not, you're not competing with anybody else. So it's a different thing for me. It's not like you can go pro. I'm not going to try and go pro in being a pilot.
Have you seen the movie Planes? It's basically the spin-off from Cars, where there's this crop duster and he just does crops, but he wanted to be a flying plane. So there's actually prop plane competitions where there's a whole different world of people flying.
I also know my adrenaline problem, and I would then be like, all right, I'm doing backflips and I can't get myself and I kill myself.
Yeah, I know. All right, sweet. I like that. I love that. That was a good answer. All right, next question. What did you want to be when you were a child?
I thought I was going to play professional tennis. But it was partially with my dad's dream, but that's what I thought I was going to do for sure. I was certain, but I hated it my whole life. So I played some pro and I played in college, but
that's not something you wanted to do.
Every night I was imagining winning Wimbledon and stuff, but
Okay.
but no, it was what I did, but it was like chosen for me.
Sure.
I'd say the thing I'd heard a quote by a saying that whatever you were doing in 6th grade is what you should do with your life, which is a little silly because how many people are like doing their accounting?
Yeah, exactly.
But for me, I actually used to make videos with my friends, and we'd make these stupid videos that we thought were funny.
Yeah.
And so that was one of my favorite things. And now I make stupid videos that's how I built a lot of my business, was my parody videos of Lai Topez and Can't Cardone and that stuff. So honestly, I wanted to make stupid videos, and that's what I'm doing.
I love it. That's an awesome one too, man. All right, next up, what is your favorite movie or TV show?
Movie is Gladiator. It's got to be Gladiator overall, though. There's close seconds, but Gladiator's favorite movie. And then TV show, man, that's tough. There's too many.
There's too many.
The sitcoms that you can watch to go to sleep, that would be How I Met Your Mother for me. Then there's Spartacus. I've watched a handful of times. Right now, I'd say Yellowstone is probably the best show on right now. Ted Lasso season 1 was amazing. Season 2
my God,
got a little bit woke. Cool that shit down.
I hope so too, man.
It got a little, it's just fucking to do the show. It's a soccer show. What are you doing? Stop everything to everyone. That's where I'd go with those. Yeah.
I love it. Next up, what movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
That's my plan with my life. So is it a movie that exists yet, or do I have to go back to a movie that's already been done?
Yeah, you could. I'm sure there's going to be a movie with you in it. But what movie would you choose that's already?
I would either do Thor or I would do Gladiator. I think I'd make a good Gladiator. Russell Crowe. I think so. I think Hemsworth killed it as Thor. I'd like to do a movie called Odin about in the Marvel sort of realm, but it's about Odin's story and how he lost his eye. I'm big into Norse mythology, the religion I believe in. So I'd like to do the story of how Odin gave up his eye for the eternal knowledge.
Wow.
I'd like to make.
I love that. That's going to be a fun one to watch for sure. I love all of
it. But yeah, I've got a TV show I'm writing now. That's the one I want to do first.
Nice. Awesome. Next up, who is your favorite superhero?
Thor. Easy.
Thor, come on, easy one.
It's Batman. It was Batman, and there's ways. It depends. I wouldn't call Thor a superhero. I'd call him a god. If we're gonna get technical, I think Thor is a real thing, not the. But Batman would be the other one because it's just a dude who got rich and figured some shit out. So that's He's definitely. And he's the ultimate altruist because he has to actively seem like a piece of shit while doing very good things. Yeah. So, Batman.
Love it. All right. Last one. If you were a board game, what would it be?
Do or Drink. All Cards Against Humanity would probably be what people... No, Do or Drink for sure. That game it's fucking insane. It's a game where there's these cards and they have these insane things you have to do, and if you don't do them you have to drink. And the only time I drink a good amount, and the only time
you don't want to do it.
The only time I blacked out in the past 5 years was playing that game on the Super Bowl last year, and I was wrecked. It's brutal and really fun. So that's what I would be. That's my board game.
Okay. All right. Sweet. Thank you so much.
What's the most common answer you get for board game?
I get a lot of Monopolies.
I figured that's just because people are boring and they've never played any other
people
game.
Than anyone else. I've gotten some Risk, some people that say Life, or I've also had some that say chess. I'm a chess. I'm very strategic. All right. Yeah. Good for you. But it's been a fun question. People wait, where'd that come from?
Yeah, I'm probably the only one who said do a drink. Most people don't know about it. So
Yeah, you did. All right. Last up, where can my entrepreneurs find you?
Yeah, if you want to get on my main email list, I'd recommend going to moneydnaquiz.com, and you can take a quiz how to find out your biggest money block and how to get rid of them, all the stuff you learn in your childhood, the neighborhoods you grew up in that are affecting your relationship to money. And
Nice.
then for my comedy stuff, you can go to ianstanleycomedy.com. I have an email list there, or my Instagram at becoming Ian Stanley.
I love it. I will be sure to include all of these links to the show notes so that folks can get to it much quickly. Ian, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, your energy, and some of the fun times that we had here.
Yeah, dude, it was a good time. I like your questions. Good questions.
Appreciate it. All right, that's it for now, guys. We'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to Hacks and Hobbies. You can find additional information on the guest today on their website, hacksandhobbies.com. Please feel free to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on upcoming interviews with amazing guests.